Thank you for joining us for another episode of Curious Careers. I'm David Huff, the Corporate Relationship Manager here at Cass Business School, and I'm excited today to welcome Mike. Mike is an alumnus of Cass Business School and a former student on our tough Executive MBA program. Thanks for joining us, Mike. How are you?
Good, David. Lovely to be on, and lovely to meet you again, and looking forward to the conversation this morning.
Excellent. So before we dive into a few questions about your career and your executive MBA experience, can you just give us a little bit of an introduction to who you are and what you're doing now in your career, if that's okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm Mike Kennedy. I graduated from City back in 1999. The evening MBA program. I've had a couple of roles between then and now, and currently I work for a company called APC Technology Group. We're private equity backed. Design and distributor of typically high reliability electronics, working for a variety of North American, European and global electronic manufacturers, representing them in the UK. It's a really technical engineering led business, and my role really is Group Business Development Director and head of HR to sort of support the success of our divisional sales teams, which are really very heavily engineering led. So quite an exciting, quite a niche business, some really great customers across oil and gas, defense, aerospace, space, and a whole host of other technology areas. So yeah, really interesting role, and one I've been in now for nearly 5 years.
Excellent. So we'll definitely deep dive into that a little bit more. But before we do that, we'll take you back a few years to when you actually did your evening MBA. What influenced you to do an executive MBA? It's such a massive commitment. It's tough. What made you think that's for me?
I mean, really, two sort of pivotal influences in my early career. My chief executive Charles and my then MD Andrew. Charles had done his MBA at INSEAD several years previously and had set up the company I was working for at the time. And Andrew had actually done his MBA prior to me on the evening MBA program at City. So those were the two influences on me. I had some friends who had done full-time MBAs at Strathclyde and elsewhere, and I thought to take the career forward, the evening MBA was a good option for me. Andrew is a former City graduate, kind of directed me towards there, but I did look at other courses as well at the time. And yeah, City worked for a whole host of reasons for me. Really liked what I saw when I went there the first time to have a look around and have a chat to people. I thought the course content was great, and as well as the geography. I was working in London at the time. I could walk to university from my first flat, and so that was ideal, and it was easy access from the premises we were working at. And so yeah, it worked for a whole host of reasons. But yeah, the course content was super, and the ability to get out of the little niche business I was in and interact with the range of individuals in the course from such a broad spectrum of industries, that some of which were really unique to London. So financial services, obviously, a lot of the insurance colleagues who were on the course gave insights into their sector. And yeah, it was a really diverse group I studied with, that gave me a broad set of views on the wider market at that time. So yeah, so it was a great package.
I think that's one of the key things that you've really kind of pointed on there about an executive MBA, and particularly at Cass, it's the diverse range of people who actually do the program. You almost end up learning as much from your cohort as you do the lecturers. So I think that's a key thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I think that came through in the project work. We did a lot of group work during the course, and we got to work with a range of different people, a range of experiences from charities, through those financial services sectors, industrial, manufacturing, etc. And it was a really diverse cohort. It was a really good cohort, and I think for me that did give a lot of value to it. It brought a lot of real life situations to play when you're doing project work, and even had the discussions in class. So yes, the excellent lecturers and excellent course content being delivered, but as much of the real life examples that the group provided added context and added depth to it. So yeah, really worked well.
Absolutely. That's great, because that's what we try and do. We try and balance that academic and that practical real world information together to generate a useful course. So that's great. I work on the careers team, and this podcast or this video interview is from the careers team. And we run a lot of professional development workshops and events throughout the year, where we might get corporates in, where we might do corporate speaker, where we do corporate speakers. We'll have interviews, professional development workshops, and we'll have basic career advice. So how to do your CV a bit better, mock interviews, items like that. Was there anything that particularly influenced you from a professional development workshop, careers elements that really helped you in your career moving forward?
I think there's a couple. I mean, for me, probably the business law aspect was a really powerful part of the course for me. We had a couple of external speakers come in around that and how to use the level of business law that was delivered through the course and apply that into your practical roles thereafter. Yeah. So for me, that was really important. Those speakers were outstanding. That workshop was something I gained a lot of benefit from at the time and have done subsequently. Yeah. Similarly, on the HR front, we had a really good, solid HR module that was delivered, and there was a couple of guest speakers through that again helped really focus the mind on the importance of HR. And as I've now ended up running HR in the company, that's been a real good grounding for me that I'm using sort of 20 years later. So yeah, those two would stand out. I mean, I think also to add a bit more to that, the weekend schools that we did, Ashridge and Longbridge, Ashridge and Longmoor, yeah, were both fun, but the practical team building elements in both of those was really superb as well.
Fantastic. That's really beneficial, because I think those team building exercises are amazing and are very practical when you bring it back to the office. And for anyone who might be listening or watching this and thinking, we have a pandemic, are we still going to have guest speakers? The answer is yes. So we'll vary towards course, but if we can't get them in to actually sitting in front of you, we'll be able to do virtual events. So you'll still get all that benefit of having speakers in this year as well.
Yeah, and the technology has moved so much since I did the course that actually I think in all aspects of business now, using the online platforms to do these things is just successful, whether that's us pitching products to customers, whether it's doing technical webinars for our clients. All those things can be done just as easily today online.
Absolutely. I was a bit offended when we first started doing virtual events, because our students were coming back and saying, I prefer the virtual event. And I'm like, do you not want to have me in the room with you guys? But they really seem to enjoy it, the students, which is the key thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I think it's very much saving a work stance sense. We've moved our business today to doing all of our team meetings, all of our calls remotely. And it gives people time, because obviously in the type of business we're in, a lot of particularly our sales teams spend their time traveling. And so now getting that travel time back and being able to use it productively rather than sitting behind a wheel of a car or a train or a plane is kind of meant productivity in some parts of our business has actually gone up through the pandemic.
That's key. That's amazing. Great insight. For many people, getting their advanced degree, so in your case, an executive MBA, is a real game changer for them and positively affects their career moving forward. Do you think that's been what's happened to you? Would you say it would be a game changer getting your executive MBA?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's given me the opportunity to progress to senior leadership levels that I've enjoyed in the last 2 or 3 roles. I think without that grounding and the broad experience that it gave, in particular areas like finance, I'm not an accountant, but the level of understanding and the level of corporate finance and accounting understanding again through the course was essential to future development. And then those ancillary areas, business strategy and the like, again, helped me massively. And so, yeah, for a purely personal standpoint, I think it was an essential thing to have done it and done it at the right time. Yeah. And I would thoroughly encourage anybody thinking about the course to look at where it can take you, and the opportunities it can open up for you by adding that further degree to your CV. And I subsequently did another master's after it, in a more niche area. But in terms of career benefit, the MBA was far and away the most important.
Excellent. That's great, because I think a lot of what we hear from people who have done the MBA is it really gives them a very strong foundation across a number of different things. So you highlighted finance, you're not a finance director, but it's given you that background in finance now. So you can probably have great conversations with your finance director. You understand it better than maybe you would have
Absolutely.
20 years ago. So that's great.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it's the combination of the theory and the practice. I kind of felt the evening MBA was a good balance between theory and practice, and practical application throughout was really solid.
Excellent. Thank you. You work in a very technology heavy area, kind of high technology. So for anyone who's listening to this, what tips, advice would you give someone who wants to work in technology? Is there any kind of top tips you give them maybe?
I think it's be open to new ideas. I think be ready to embrace new ideas. Be ready to make mistakes as well. We've gone down some rabbit holes in the last few years. We've backed the wrong horse, to use an analogy there. So make mistakes, be open to ideas, and embrace the change, the pace and speed of change of technology. I think those would be the three things I would throw back out.
Excellent. I think they're really good, particularly, I guess, failure isn't fatal, and learning from those failures and backing the wrong horse, but then being agile to move and then back the right horse moving forward.
Exactly that. Yeah, and yeah, you have to make mistakes to learn from them.
Absolutely. Final question before I let you go, because I know you're a busy man.
Thank you, David.
Any top career tips for our CAS community? So career tips that you have worked well in your career that you'd like to kind of share?
I think don't stop learning, and whatever area you want to progress your career into, whatever direction you want it to take, don't be afraid to learn. Don't be afraid to take on board both formal and vocational qualifications to kind of meet your career directions and get the balance right.
Excellent.
I think that would be I think my answer to that one is keep taking the opportunity to learn, keep progressing yourself and developing yourself as an individual. It doesn't have to be formal, it can be informal, but a balance is a good thing.
Perfect. I think that works really well with your last point about technology as well. Everything's moving so fast, you have to continue learning to be effective. Sounds good.
And whether that's in learning how to better develop your profile on social media, whether that's about learning how better to include diversity within your business, or whatever the subject that's important to you and your personal development, keep on looking for that opportunity to develop.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for joining us today, Mike. I've really enjoyed talking with you. I think you've given our community some great advice and tips. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Brilliant, David. Thank you very much. Lovely help. Thank you.
Thanks. For the CAS community, until we speak again, stay curious. Thank you.